It is Saturday, November 4, 2023, and I'll be reminded, and maybe that face I saw over my face, but in the opposite way. He looked down over my face, so his eyes was where my mouth was, like that. And I didn't knew who he was. But I am thinking it could be my father, my earthly father. And because I'll be reminded today that he passed away this day in 1970. He had been away from Earth for a long time now, because he was old when I was born. He was born in 1908. So I had old parents already from the start. And I still remember that day on his funeral. I didn't know how he died. I didn't see him when he died, because I live in another city and I was young. It is sad, but it was true in that way that my mother had a birthday in August 1970, and it was her 60th birthday. She was 60 years old, and my father they were divorced, my parents, but my father come to celebrate her on her 60th birthday. And I thought that he should only be over that day coming and visit. But he was staying. And they come together, my parents. And as a child, I should have been very happy that it happened. But it was scary for me. It sounds maybe like selfish that I was sleeping in my mother's house, because I was still living with my mother, and my father got my room to sleep in, but he was sleeping in my mother's bed. But that room was for him, and so I had to sleep on a sofa in the living room, very openly. And I had that in my thinking the whole time when I laying there, that I had been and visit him. He lived in Stockholm, and I had been there with a friend in that time. And in the night when we sleep in his home, he come over me, my father, and wanted to intimacy. I don't know, but in ordinary speaking, he want to have sex with me, and I wake up that he was just was on his way down to lay over me. We were sleeping on the floor on a mattress, and he was going over me, and I saw he was hard between his legs, and he was so drunk, so he didn't recognize his daughter, because, and I'm wondering how he could not notice that I have my friend with me, or if he wanted to be together with both of us, but he was laying over me and then wanted her. And I know that sometimes sometimes he was calling me when we were separated, and he was sitting and talking most of the night. I had to wake up when I should go to the school, but he wanted to talk to me and didn't care that I had to go to the school. And so he was the whole time. When he lived together with my mother also, when I was a young child, he wake me up in the night and let me sit and listen at him when he was talking, his drunk talking. And I fall to sleep in the school so many times. So they thought that I was behind, that I was not okay in my brain. So I needed to go to, I don't know what it is in English, but the class for retired children. Those that is not developed in the brain. And but they test me how much I knew of schoolworks, and they find out that I was not stupid in my brain, that it was something else. And my teacher come home to my home, but my home was like a castle, and I know now why it was. It was like the royals could come into my home. It was perfect home, and I don't know what my mother told my teacher, because I was in the school. I was not at home when the teacher come. And my mother told me that the teacher had come and talked to her. And maybe the teacher was to my mother's cafeteria, because she worked the whole time. She had, when they, it was of course before they divorced, my parents. So she had a cafeteria just in that time it was divorce. So maybe she was home and the teacher came. And she says something that make the teacher believe that the home was okay. My father was, of course, not home, so she could see him. He was out and he was working, but maybe not in that time. I go a little back and forward because I don't remember that time because it was so bad a time. So I have hide it in my brain to not remember it. And it was a very hard time. It was much evil going on in my home. And but my teacher accepted. And that teacher, she was married to a pastor. So maybe my mother talking like that, church things with her. And so I was up to my father, and he wanted to have sex with me. And I wake up my friend and say that we have to run away. We have to go out very fast. And she didn't know what it was, but she heard and saw me was that I was very scared to death. So we ran out from my father's home, and it was in the middle of the night. And he didn't live in the center of Stockholm. He lived on outside Stockholm in suburb. I hit the subway, and we had to wait for the train, local train or subway. I think it's that name in English. The station was closed because it was night, so we have to wait until it was maybe 4 o'clock in the night when it start the train to go into the center of Stockholm, and we could come to the train station to take the train back home to our city. And of course I explain for her when we sit and wait, and I remember it was very cold that night. And so that was something I remember when I was laying in the living room and I had no door to close me in. And my father was there in our home. And the first I was thinking about it was that he had drinking so much in his life, so his brain had started to change. So he was a little more violent, and I had to go to the kitchen and find all the knives and scissors to hide them, so he couldn't, when he was drunk, he could take a knife and put it into me and kill me. So I was very frightened. And my mother was on her job. She was away, and I was with my drunk father when I didn't have a school in that time. And then one day it exploded inside me. I couldn't have it anymore. I couldn't hold it back. And I was very mild. I was kindly and loving person. But in that time I have to be strong, powerful. So and my father was very drunk. And I took him down to our railway station. And it was not hard because the railway station was just at our house. But he was going with me, and I didn't say anything where we should go. So he only followed me, and he was very drunk, so the brain doesn't work on in him, so he didn't understood. He didn't ask. He only followed me. And maybe it was a new person he saw in me. I was only 16 years old, and he saw a strong person in me. So he only followed me. And I pay his train ticket to Stockholm. And then I followed him to the train and placed him up on the train. It was in that time when it was stairs up to the train wagon. And what I said to him, it was true, but it was very sad in the same time, because I said to him, go home to your place. I don't want to see you anymore, I say to him. And the train took him away, and it was, I don't remember really when my mother is born, but she was born in August. And then I was laying in that sofa. I don't know if it was something with my room that had to be done, because I prefer to sleep in the sofa, and I didn't want to go into that bed where my father had been sleeping. And I lay there because I was sick that day, and a telephone ringing, and I went up because I'd be surprised no one called to our home when my mother wasn't there. But I took the call, and my aunt on my father's side, she told me that your father is dead. She said that only to me. She was not saying mild. She only said that straight out. Your father is dead. And then she said that he was dancing in the evening one of the days. It was, I have not checked out what day it was, November 4th, 1970. But he was out and dancing with a woman. And we we come up to his apartment. We went into his apartment when he'd have died, and we could see what they have done the last evening. It was nice dinner that they have eaten, and the bed was a mess, so they have had sex and then go out and dancing. And my father, he had a heart that was growing because of alcoholic. So it was growing bigger. And when he was out, have drinking, eating, have sex, and then out and dancing. And he was 62 years old. And suddenly his heart broke. It go open up and the blood all over his body and kill him. And she be scared. It was a woman that was only just for that evening he had. And I have not told you, I forget to tell you that when my father called me in the nights and wanted to talk to me, his stupid talk, and I had to go to bed because I needed to go to the school. But he was talking to me about that he had young girls in his apartment that he pay and give them alcoholic to and have sex with them. And he said to me, they are like childish, you say. They are in the same age as you. And I maybe was 15 years old. And my father was with them when he was 60. And it was terrible to hear it. And so I had that in my mind when I told him to never, I didn't want to see him again. And then he died without I have seen him. And we have no open casket. We don't have any open funeral here in Sweden. So I didn't see how he looked like when he was dead. But my aunt, she told me in the telephone that she had seen her brother in the newspaper because when he fall down on the floor, dance floor, maybe that woman he had with him, I don't know who it was, but maybe that woman or someone else took his wallet, because my father had just when he died, he had winning on a lottery. He had lots of lottery that he had got when he was working, and when they did some work, because he was a salesman for insurance company, and he was the manager for their department for that city we lived in. And every time they did, they get many people that want to buy insurance. They got a lottery ticket that is like it's a lottery ticket for many years that you can win on. It costs much money, very much money. It's not a lottery to go in a store and buy just for that day. It was a lottery for many years to have. And when he died, I got my part of my... I have a brother and a sister, and they got lottery also. And I got 1/3 of those lotteries. But I sold them because I was in a school. I needed extra money. But he had just a winning on them. It was like $150,000, like that. So he had lots of money on him. In that time, 1970, we didn't have any bank card in Sweden. We have the money on us. But of course he had in a bank, but the money he need to have to buy alcoholic, and he was smoker to have to smoke, and so he need to have much money. And then also they saw him that he have gold, because he was fired from his job as a manager for insurance company because he was drunk, so much drunk, so he couldn't work anymore. So when he lived in Stockholm, he was import things from Japan, and he was importing Rolex, those clock watch, and so he had a Rolex clock on him, and they saw that he was very wealthy man. So they took his wallet, and in the wallet it was his ID card. So it disappeared. So they didn't know who he was. That was laying there dead on the floor, and that woman was running away, and she was not there to tell them who he was. So what they did was to take a picture of his death mask, and then they placed that in a newspaper, asking if someone knew who he was, this man. And his sister, she had the newspaper. So as soon as they put it in the newspaper, she saw, that's my brother. They asked who he is. And she called the police, and my father was saying very often when he was drunk, he was always drunk. I saw him sober only a few times when he was in the hospital, but not one day was he sober outside the hospital. And he was in prison, and he was not at home. And I didn't grow up with a father. I had a father, but I didn't grow up with him, because he was in the bar, restaurant, and then of course he was selling and did work with his salesman. He had big parties for the salesman where he was the manager, and it was much to drink. And so it was how he died. He died. He had no problems with the body more than how he was drinking away the body, that the heart was growing. But it was not genetic that I should get it. And my mother was also very healthy, and my parents was healthy, so the sickness I have in my body is not genetic. It's coming from the outside. It's not from the inside. So I know it's because of everything that have happened in my life have made me get chronicle distressed. I have been full of stress. I had high blood pressure when I was 8 years old, and that is rare. So I have that have make me be sick in my body, not on my own. I was on my way to be like my father. I was drinking very much for some few years. It was only very few years, maybe 4 years, that I was very drinking. And and it is 30 years since I have been drinking any alcoholic. I don't drink at all because my pancreas is bad. So that can give me cancer and I die. So I stopped as soon as I heard that my pancreas was bad. And I have never smoked in my whole life. And my parents, both of them, was smoking very much. So I have very much smoke inside me because of the childhood. But I have not done it on my own. This was the day my father died. And he maybe died because they maybe didn't do any death certificate on him, as they didn't know who he was. So it can be maybe yesterday also that he died. And I come up to his funeral, and I had this. I'm going to place it on this recording so you can see what flower I bought for him. It was a special flower, and maybe I can find, maybe is it something with that flower, because I was really haunted for that flower to lay on his grave, to lay on his casket where he was before. It was not an ordinary funeral. He was burning up the body, and that's what I wanted to talk about, but I stop and say something else. But now I say it because my father, when he was drunk, he always say, first he say, spit on my grave, because he felt sorry for himself. He was so selfish. and he was pedophile also, to spit on my grave, he say. And then he also say that my mother should make sure that they cut up his arm and see that the blood doesn't come out from the wound. So he was frightened to wake up in the grave and be not dead, be not deceased. He was frightened, but he was laying in the police station for some days before they make his death mask and place it in the newspaper. And then my aunt called them, so he had been deceased for a long time, and they could see that on his body that he didn't have any blood running, so it didn't need to be that they have to cut up. Maybe they cut up him to see what he died of, as it was no one there to tell when he died. So I want to say that it's very strange that he died on this day, All Saints Day, and because he have coming and taught, he have coming after life, because I in year 2000, when I should do a suicide, and then my daughter and I was waiting for it was something going on in our home that evening when I should go into the lake and kill myself. And my daughter felt it also, and it was like a wind going on in our home. And I say to my daughter that it's something very strange going on in the home. And I could see we had an American style of a fan, and I saw when I come into the room, to our bedroom, my bedroom, the fan was going normally, but I could stand out just outside the room and look into it, to the room, and when I look at the fan in the ceiling, it was going very, very fast. It's running very fast, like it should fly away from where it was sitting. And as soon as I walk into the room, it was normal speed on it. So I did it many times because I thought it was very strange that it did. And I had a person coming to my home that very strange that I got contact with him when I had this going on in the home, very strange things, evil things was going on in my home, and I was married in that time, so I talked to my husband about it, and then it be worse when he was flying to Texas, and I was by myself in the home, and my daughter was home because she had a school, so she and I was at home, but my husband was in Texas in that time, and I couldn't hold it. It was so much evil going on when he was not at home. And it was like the evil things was going on with my husband. But when he was not in the home, it targeted me. And it was very strange that one night I had a vision dream that I was standing outside a house and look into the terrace balcony. I look into the window at that balcony, and I saw a child was hunting of a ghost. It was someone hunting that child, and it was not dark. It was white that did it, but the boy was very scared, screaming. I didn't heard him screaming, but I saw his face that he had so much fear, and I couldn't open the doors. I was only on the outside looking in, and I was screaming, "Run, run, run," to that boy. And then I wake up when I was screaming, "Run, run, run." And the strange things that when that evening, when I should go down to the lake and kill me, it was the same picture. It was, I'd be very scared because it was a white thing was on my balcony. It was the opposite. It was on the outside. It was something white was on the balcony. And I have just been in a fight with a devil in my sleep. So I was already scared when I ran up from the bed and light up a room and really wake me up. And when I ran out from the room, I saw a white shape was standing at the balcony, and it was like I had seen myself running from evil things. That was in my dream, and I had it in reality then later on. And so it was much going on. I couldn't take it because I didn't know God. I have not started to be more strong and powerful in the way that I had to leave Sweden, and I had to leave my evil husband, and I had to leave everything to be homeless in United States. And in United States did I come to know God because of all evil that I went through in United States. And I come to know that I was not killed. Even if I had weapon on me, I have knife on my throat, and I had gun on my head. I was kidnapped. I was raped, but I was not killed in United States. It was always someone that helped me to escape the whole time. So I knew it was something that I couldn't see in that time that helped me. Someone helped me. And then I come to understand. And I asked if Jesus was God, that I started with. And then I didn't get an answer, so I understand that I didn't get the answer because Jesus was not God. And I asked also in the first month I was in the United States and I had no money and I had no home. I had no one to walk to get help that was visible. And I asked, that was one of the first time I talked to God, or I talked to Afterlife, and I asked, why am I here? Why am I here in United States on my own? I am only a woman. I am only an old woman. What can I do? What can I do to help the world? I say, it was my first month in the United States, and I asked that question. And when I waiting for the answer, then it come like a church building from the air, and coming down from heaven. And it says that a voice say I should build a church. But I don't think it was a building church. It was a church. What it means with the church, that's also something we need to look up. What does that word church means? But it was a church building, the picture of it, and with a staple, a high-up staple, this Lutheran church style. And so that was the answer. And I shake my head because I didn't had $1 when I was asking. I was not in my own home, and I had no money to buy any food, nothing. I had zero, and I live in the devil's home in that time also. That's why I asked God, because it was so very hard on me, and I didn't know how to survive. Already the first month, I didn't have any money to buy food, and I was thinking to go and eat from the plate outside the restaurants. There was food, but the birds was coming before I could do it. So I could go 4 days without any food to have eaten. It was very hard because I didn't know how to do it. And you that have followed me, you know that I was on my way to be killed of a pastor. And then I I called the police on him because he was on his way to kill me. And then the police come and took me to a hotel. And they were thinking maybe that I had friends or families that should come and take me from the hotel. But I didn't have any. And then the last night I was to the hotel, I didn't know where to go because I didn't know about churches. I have not been in churches, and especially not in the United States. So I wake up in the night of a bright light in the darkness, in the air, and I didn't see anyone in that bright light that was in my room, but I heard a voice. So I understand it was God that was talking to me, because I couldn't see any person in that bright light. It was almost white light. And he said, hey, I sit up in the bed when the light was there, and I asked God, because before the light come, I have laying down in the bed and wondering what I should do the next day when I could not be in the hotel. And I was in a small city where they didn't have any shelter to help me with, and I couldn't take the bus because I didn't have $1 on me. And and then it was this light, and I asked into that light because I understand it was a living thing in that light. And I asked what I should do. And he told me that I should go to a church. And I asked him that what kind of church should I go to? And the voice inside the light said that I will show you. And then I asked him, what should I say when I'm coming to the church? What should I say? Tell them. And the voice in the light said, I will show you. The voice. So I fall to sleep again. I suppose that light make me could sleep in the night. And then when I wake up in the hotel room, I was thinking, because I had staying at hotel in some countries, because I had been traveling before United States. So there was in those hotels in Europe, it was a Bible. It's called Gideon Bible, and it was a free Bible that they placed in the hotel room. So I was thinking, maybe there is a Bible here in the room, and I got the Bible, and then I didn't know where to read because I have not opened the Bible, and I didn't know where. So I placed a finger only. I took down a finger, only look away, and then I placed a finger in the Bible, and it come to Psalm 68, and it says about my situation that I was poor but holy, and And then what church should I go to? And there were some, many, many churches was it, very much. I was in United States, so it was many churches. And I did the same. I placed a finger into the telephone book, and I come to a church called the Church of Sharon. The Sharon. And I know today that the Sharon, it's the flower that was on the under the cross where Jesus was hanging. It was there around, and they say that blood of Jesus, when it fall down on the ground, it color that flower to be red. The Rose of Sharon is the name of the flower. And so I went there, and they didn't understood me. It was a total black church, and I come there as a white person. I was so extremely white when I went into the church. But before I was calling the church and say that God had come in the night and talked to me, and the bishop in that church, he laughed at me and say that God doesn't talk to anyone, and it come like if it was God or it come from the afterlife, a voice going angry at him and say that because the bishop say God doesn't talk to anyone, and if it was God that talked to you, he should not talk about our church, because our church is very, very small. So he had that idea that God's church need to be a very big church. That's what people think. Those big churches, there is big churches that got money from gangsters, criminals. People give them money. It doesn't need to be God that give them money. And a small church can give more money than a big church to a person that they don't know. And most of the time the pastors take the money by themselves. If the money should come to a person and they give it to the pastor or those that work in the top of the church, it maybe will not be to that person. It's going into the pocket of the pastor. So it doesn't mean that the big church will give most of the money. And I was not there for the money, to get money from the church. I was there to get help in my situation, to have a place to stay, to be protected. It was not the first thinking was money, but that church, the bishop, thought it was about money. And I got the money to stay 1 week in the hotel, 1 week more, so I could think about my situation and do it on my own to help myself. And not the church didn't help me. They helped me for 1 week to stay at the hotel. And that's what it. And then I was by myself again. And and close to that pastor that wanted to kill me. So I was scared because he could easily find me in that little city. So the time is flying away now in my recording, so I can't record so much more. But it is now when I say I should finish my recording, is there a spirit that will come and talking? And he remind me that I have not told you what I should have said from the beginning, that I have not, my father have not talking to me from afterlife, but I have seen him. And he was not a good father, but I helped him because in that evening when the highest priest come and stood in my room and changed my way of how I was thinking, and that changed in that way that God come and talk to me after that higher priest have left my home, and God come and talk about my future and change everything. My direction was not going to the lake. My direction was to take the flight to United States, and why I have seen my father in heaven, and it have been, I have seen some people that I know have been drinking alcoholic, and people that have been bad people. But when I see them, they are in the age before they started to drinking so much, and before they did the crime. So in that way they live in heaven in that way that they have been cleaned up, in that way that those years of bad years they have had. This is very important, and the Spirit is on me also. He wants you to understand this. Those years they walk in the wrong direction. Those people that you know about, those years is erased from them, so they stop in that age just before they started to be bad people that do not what God wanted them to do. So they, in that way, they can be in heaven, but they are going to be in young age, most of them, because they didn't do crimes when they were very young. For I have seen my father. He maybe was 20 years old, like that. But I knew it was my father. And then I have found a picture of him when he met my mother when he was 20. And he looked like that man I have seen sometimes in heaven. And why he is in heaven is because just before the highest priest came to me and talked to me in my home, it was 6 spirits that come and talk to me, and all of these 6 spirits were asking me to forgive them. So it's very, very important that you try to forgive people. In that way they can stay in heaven. And as I heard now that they are going to stay in heaven in that age before they did bad things. And so my father was there. He was the first that come through because he was in that way to go before everyone. He was so selfish. And he come and asked me for forgiveness that he was never with me. He was not at home and was the father, the real father for me. And I asked him about the pedophile he did. And he say he never penetrated me. I didn't know that word, but after that he said that to me in year 2000. Do I remember that word? Penetrate. It means they go into the body. They penetrate with what they have between their legs. But he say he didn't do that. But it was bad enough that he touched me in all kind of ways. And he was on his way to penetrate me when I was a teenager. I saw it. And but I say I had hard to forgive him. And that's maybe why he have never coming and talked to me. I have seen him, but he have not talked to me like my mother have talked to me, but he have not talked to me. And it's maybe that's why, because he tried to hide what he had done, but I told him that he was a pedophile and why he did that to his own daughter. And but he was forgiven because I say I forgive him. So he got a ticket to heaven, and I couldn't tell any of them that I didn't forgive them, because it was so much love streaming around in the room where I was, and they were talking to me. So it was like forerunning. The room was full of love before they come through and ask for forgiveness. So it helped me a lot to forgive when the love placed into my heart for them. So I told you this because of my father's day was today when he left his earthly life to come to wait for me. He was waiting for me in 30 years for me to say that I forgive him. And so they are somewhere and waiting also to be judged. And I understand that in the judgment that took place for my father, they say they didn't want to forgive him for what he had done to my life. But they were merciful because they told my father that if the one that you have hurt most in your life will forgive you, we will also forgive you. That's what I did. I helped him into heaven, or else he have not been in heaven. So it's very important for you to forgive, even whatever they have done to you. You need that for the love of God's creation. Thank you for listening, and God bless you.